All right, good morning, class. It is Monday, April 27th, and we are still reading about Percy Jackson and the Lightning Thief. Today we're going to be talking about specifically descriptive language and how it creates the mood. Last week, we talked a little bit about setting and mood. So, again, the setting is where the story takes place, the time, the place, and the environment of the story. And a lot of the time, the author uses very descriptive language to create the setting. And the setting can help create the mood because the mood is the overall feeling of a story. It's how the writer's words make you feel. So, descriptive language is in both of those things. And the descriptive language and the setting helps create the mood. So, today, what you're going to be working on is determining the mood of the story. Just like if we go into a place that has balloons and cake and happy music, the mood of that is going to be more cheerful. Whereas if we go into like a dark, gloomy cave, the mood of that might be a little scary or might be a little eerie, right? So let's see what our steps are. So in order to identify the mood, you want to first be able to identify what the setting is. Then you want to find any descriptive language and think about how do those words make you feel. And then finally, you just want to be thinking about what event is happening. Is this event happy, scary, exciting? And that will help you identify what the mood of the story is. But again, the mood is the overall feeling that you're feeling in that part of the story. So today we're going to be reading chapter 16, part 1. Chapter 16 was a long chapter, so I split it into two parts. So we'll read part of chapter 16 today, part of chapter 16 tomorrow. All right, so let's get started. Chapter 16, We Take a Zebra to Vegas, part 1. There was a the war god was waiting for us in the diner parking lot. Well, well, he said, you didn't get yourself killed. You knew it was a trap, I said. Ares gave me a wicked grin. Bet that crippled blacksmith was surprised when he netted a couple of stupid kids. You look good on TV. I shoved his shield at him. You're a jerk. Annabeth and Grover caught their breath. Ares grabbed the shield and spun it like pizza dough. It changed form, melting into a bulletproof vest. He slung it across his back. See that truck over there? He pointed to an 18-wheeler parked across the street from the diner. That's your ride. Take you straight to LA with one stop in Vegas. The 18-wheeler had a sign on the back, which I could only read because it was reverse printed white on black, a good combination for dyslexia. Kindness International, Humane Zoo Transport, warning, live wild animals. I said, you're kidding. Ares snapped his fingers. The back door of the truck unlatched. Free ride west, punk. Stop complaining. And here's a little something for doing the job. He slung a blue nylon backpack off the handlebars and tossed it to me. Inside were fresh clothes for all of us, $20 in cash, and a pouch of golden drachmas, and a bag of double-stuffed Oreos. I said, I don't want your lousy... Thank you, Lord Ares, Grover interrupted, for giving me his best red alert warning look. Thanks a lot. I gritted my teeth. It was probably a deadly insult to refuse something from a god, but I didn't want anything that Ares had touched. Reluctantly, I slung the backpack over my shoulder. I knew my anger was being caused by the war god's presence, but I was still itching to punch him in the nose. He reminded me of every bully I'd ever faced. Nancy Bobofit, Clarice, Smelly Gabe, sarcastic teachers, every jerk who'd called me stupid in school or laughed at me when I'd gotten expelled. I looked back at the diner, which had only a couple of customers now. The waitress who'd served us dinner was watching nervously out the window, like she was afraid Ares might hurt us. She dragged the fry cook out from the kitchen to see. She said something to him. He nodded, held up a little disposable camera, and snapped a picture of us. Great, I thought. We'll make the papers tomorrow again. Again tomorrow. I imagined the headline. 12-year-old boy, outlaw, beats up defenseless biker. You owe me one more thing, I told Ares, trying to keep my voice level. You promised me information about my mother. You sure can handle the news. You sure you can handle the news? He kick-started his motorcycle. She's not dead. The ground seemed to spin beneath me. What do you mean? I mean, she was taken away from a minotaur before she could die. She was turned into a shower of gold, right? That's metamorphosis, not death. She's being kept. Kept why? You need to study war, punk. Hostages. You take somebody to control somebody else. Nobody's controlling me. He laughed. Oh, yeah? See you around, kid. I balled my fists. You're pretty smug, Lord Ares, for a guy who runs from Cupid statues. Behind the sunglasses, fire glowed. I felt a hot wind in my hair. We'll meet again, Percy Jackson. Next time you're in a fight, watch your back. He revved his Harley, then roared down Delancey Street. Annabeth said, That was not very smart, Percy. I don't care. You don't want a god as your enemy, especially not that god. Hey guys, Grover said. I hate to interrupt, but he pointed toward the diner. At the register, the last two customers were paying their checks. Two men in identical black coveralls, with white logo on their backs that matched the one on the Kindness International truck. If we're taking the Zoo Express, Grover said, we need to hurry. I didn't like it, but we had no better option. Besides, I had seen enough of Denver. So pause there for a second. We're not going to do any examples. I just want you to be thinking about why why was it not smart of Percy to say those things to Ares? And I want you to think, keep that in your memory, like what he was saying to Ares for future in the story, because it might help you later. Okay, we're going to keep going. I want you to continue to think about this setting. Right now, they're in Denver, and it's the last people were paying their checks, so it's probably like evening time. The first thing that hit me was the smell. It was like the world's biggest pan of kitty litter. The trailer was dark inside until I uncapped Anaklusmos. The blade cast a faint bronze light over the sad scene. Sitting in a row of filthy metal cages were three of the most pathetic zoo animals I'd ever beheld. A zebra, a male albino lion, and some weird antelope thing I didn't know the name for. Someone had thrown a lion a sack of turnips, which he obviously didn't want to eat. The zebra and the antelope had each gotten a styrofoam tray of hamburger meat. The zebra's mane was matted with chewing gum, like somebody had been spitting up on their spare time. The antelope had a stupid silver birthday balloon tied to one of its horns that read, Over the Hill. Apparently nobody had wanted to get close enough to the lion to mess with him, but the poor thing was pacing around on soiled blankets, in a space way too small for him, panting from the stuffy heat of the trailer. He had flies buzzing around his pink eyes, and his ribs showed through his white fur. This is kindness? Grover yelled. Humane zoo transport? He probably would have gone right back outside and beat up the truckers with his reed pipes, and I would have helped him. But just then the truck's engine roared to life. The trailer started shaking, and we were forced to sit down or fall down. We huddled in a corner on some mildew-fed feed sacks, trying to ignore the smell and the heat of the flies. Grover talked to the animals in a series of goat bleats, but they just stared at him sadly. Annabeth was in favor of breaking the cages and freeing them on the spot, but I pointed out it wouldn't do much good until the truck stopped moving. Besides, I had a feeling that we might look a lot better to the lion than those turnips. I found a water jug and refilled their bowls, then used Anaklusmos to drag the mismatched food out from their cages. I gave the meat to the lion and the turnips to the zebra and the antelope. Grover calmed the antelope down, while Annabeth used her knife to cut the balloon off his horn. She wanted to cut the gum out of the zebra's mane too, but we decided that would be too risky with the truck bumping around. We told Grover to promise the animals that we'd help them in the morning, then we settled in for the night. Pause there. So that's a really detailed setting. So that's definitely going to give off kind of like a mood to this part of the story. So if you remember, they're inside of a truck with three different animals, and it's pretty dirty, and it's dark, and it's kind of smelly, and there's flies everywhere. So let's go up to our example. So the example up here says, identify the setting. So I already did. The setting is in the evening in Denver, Colorado, and they are in the back of a large truck filled with zoo animals. So now I've identified the setting, so now I can think about what the mood is. So on page 45 to 246, what is the effect of the words like filthy metal, stuffy heat of the trailer on the mood. So do these words create a mood that is gross and sad, scary and suspicious, cheerful and exciting, or funny and humorous? Well, first I'm going to get rid of the ones I know it's not. I know it's not funny or humorous. I know it's not cheerful or exciting. So those two are not going to be options. So I can just I'm just going to even just not even think about those two. Then the other two, they create a gross and sad mood. Gross. So gross is like dirty. So it says filthy metal cages, stuffy heat of the trailer. So I've been in places that are really hot and confined, and that's pretty gross. Same with if it's filthy, that means it's dirty. So that's definitely gross, and that would mean it's pretty sad because there's animals living in there. Scary and suspicious. So I'm not feeling scared in the back of this truck. I'm feeling more sad and grossed out. So A is going to be my answer. So the mood in the back of the truck is gross and sad. What other descriptive words support your answer from part A? Apparently nobody wanted to get close to the lion to mess with him. Pacing around on soiled blankets. Flies buzzing around. Grover talked to the animals. So the two that don't create gross or sad for sure is A and D. So now I'm going to decide between B and C. So soiled blankets mean that's where the lion had to use the restroom. So I'm going to go with that because that seems like the grossest to me. Flies buzzing around can be pretty gross, but I think the best one would be B. All right, so we're going to keep going, and you're going to get to practice that on your own in a little bit. So they're still in the back of the truck. Let's keep going. Grover curled up on a turnip sack. Annabeth opened our bag of double stuffed Oreos and nibbled on one half-heartedly. I tried to cheer myself up by concentrating on the fact that we were halfway to Los Angeles, halfway to our destination. It was only June 14th. The solstice wasn't until the 21st. We could make it in plenty of time. On the other hand, I had no idea what to expect next. The gods kept toying with me. At least Hephaestus had the decency to be honest about it. He'd put up cameras and advertised me as as entertainment. But even when the cameras weren't rolling, I had a feeling my quest was being watched. I was a source of amusement for the gods. Hey, Annabeth said. I'm sorry for freaking out back at the water park, Percy. That's okay. She shuddered. Spiders. Because of the Arachna story, I guess. She got turned into a spider for challenging your mom to the weaving contest, right? Annabeth nodded. Arachna's children have been taking revenge on the children of Athena ever since. If there's a spider within a mile of me, it'll find me. I hate the creepy little things anyway. I owe you. We're a team, remember? I said. Besides, Grover did the fancy flying. I thought he was asleep, but he mumbled from the corner. I was pretty amazing, wasn't I? Annabeth and I laughed. She pulled apart an Oreo, handed me half. In the iris message, did Luke really say nothing? I munched my cookie and thought about how to answer. The conversation via Rainbow had bothered me all evening. Luke said you and he go way back. He also said Grover wouldn't fail me this time. Nobody would turn into a pine cone. In the dim bronze light of the sword blade, it was hard to read their expressions. Grover let out a mournful bray. I should have told you the truth from the beginning. His voice trembled. I thought if you knew what a failure I was, you wouldn't want me along. You were the satyr who tried to rescue Thalia, the daughter of Zeus. He nodded gloomily. And the two other half-bloods Thalia befriended, the ones who got back safely to camp, I looked at Annabeth. That was Luke. You and Luke, wasn't it? She put down her Oreo uneaten. Like you said, Percy, a 7-year-old half-blood wouldn't have made it very far alone. Athena guided me toward help. Thalia was 12, Luke was 14. They'd both run away from home like me. They were happy to take me with them. They were amazing monster fighters, even without training. We traveled north from Virginia without any real plans, fending off monsters for about 2 weeks before Grover found us. I was supposed to escort Thalia to camp, he said, sniffling. Only Thalia. I had strict orders from Chiron. Don't do anything that would slow down the rescue. We knew Hades was after her. See, but I couldn't just leave Luke and Annabeth by themselves. I thought I could lead all three of them to safety. It was my fault the kindly ones caught up with us. I froze. I got scared on the way back to camp and took some wrong turns. If I'd just been a little quicker. Stop it, Annabeth said. No one blames you. Thalia didn't blame you either. She sacrificed herself to save us, he said miserably. Her death was my fault. The Council of Cloven Elders said so. But you wouldn't leave two other half-bloods behind, I said. That's not fair. Percy's right, Annabeth said. I wouldn't be here today if it weren't for you, Grover. Neither would Luke. We don't care what the council says. Grover kept sniffling in the dark. It's just my luck. I'm the lamest satyr ever, and I find the two most powerful half-bloods of the century, Thalia and Percy. You're not lame, Annabeth insisted. You've got more courage than any satyr I've ever met. Name one other who would dare go to the underworld. I bet Percy is really glad you're here right now. She kicked me in the shin. Yeah, I said, which I would have done without the kick. It's not luck that found Thalia and me, Grover. You've got the biggest heart of any satyr ever. You're a natural searcher. That's why you'll be the one who finds Pan. I heard a deep, satisfied sigh. I waited for Grover to say something, but his breathing only got heavier. When the sound turned to snoring, I realized he'd fallen asleep. How does he do that? I marveled. I don't know, Annabeth said, but that was a really nice thing you told him. I meant it. We rode up in silence for a few miles, bumping around the feed sacks. The zebra munched a turnip. The lion licked the last of the hamburger meat off his lips and looked at me hopefully. Annabeth rubbed her necklace like she was thinking deep, strategic thoughts. The pine tree bead, I said. Is that your first year? She looked. She hadn't realized what she was doing. Yeah, she said. Every August, the counselors pick the most important event of the summer, and they paint it on that year's beads. I've got Thalia's pine tree, a Greek trimeme on fire, a centaur in a prom dress now, and that was a weird summer. The college ring is your father's. That's none of your... She stopped herself. Yeah, it is. You don't have to tell me. No, it's okay. She took a shaky breath. My dad sent it to me folded up in a letter 2 summers ago. The ring was like his main keepsake from Athena. He wouldn't have gotten through his doctoral program at Harvard without her. That's a long story. Anyway, he said he wanted me to have it. He apologized for being a jerk, and he said he loved me and missed me. He wanted me to come home and live with him. That doesn't sound so bad. Yeah, well, the problem was I believed him. I tried to go home for the school year, but my stepmom was the same as ever. She didn't want her kids in danger by living with a freak. Monsters attacked, we argued. Monsters attacked, we argued. I didn't even make it through winter break. I called Chiron and came right back to Camp Half-Blood. You think you'll ever try living with your dad again? She wouldn't meet my eyes. Please. I'm not into self-inflicted pain. You shouldn't give up, I told her. You should write him a letter or something. Thanks for the advice, she said coldly, but my father's made his choice about who he wants to live with. We passed another few miles in silence. So if the gods fight, I said, will things line up the way they did during the Trojan War? Will it be Athena versus Poseidon? She put her head against the backpack Ares had given us, closed her eyes. I don't know what my mom will do. I just know I'll fight next to you. Why? Because you're my friend, Seaweed Brain. Any more stupid questions? I couldn't think of an answer for that. Fortunately, I didn't have to. Annabeth was asleep. I had trouble following her example, with Grover snoring and the albino lions staring hungrily at me. But eventually, I closed my eyes. Pause there. I want you to think about how Athena and Percy's relationship have changed. Because they were really close in the beginning, and then it kind of seemed like maybe she didn't want to be close with them because of the relationship with Poseidon and her mom. But now we're kind of seeing that change happening again. So let's keep going. Our scenery and setting is going to change. So this is going to be where you want to pay really close attention, because after these stars is going to be what you're going to be answering your next question about. My nightmare started out as something I dreamed a million times before. I was being forced to take a standardized test while wearing a straitjacket. All the other kids were going to pick out recess, and the teacher kept saying, Come on, Percy, you're not stupid, are you? Pick up your pencil. Then the dream strayed from the usual. I looked over at the next desk and saw a girl sitting there, also wearing a straitjacket. She was my age, with unruly black punk style hair, dark eyeliner around her stormy green eyes, and freckles across her nose. Somehow I knew who she was. She was Thalia, daughter of Zeus. She struggled against the straitjacket, glared at me in frustration, and snapped, "Well, seaweed brain, one of us has to get out of here." She's right, my dream self thought. I'm going back to the cavern. I'm going to give Hades a piece of my mind. The straitjacket melted off me. I fell through the classroom floor. The teacher's voice changed until it was evil, echoing from the depths of a great chasm. "Percy Jackson," it said. "Yes, the exchange went well, I see." I was in the back of the dark cavern, spirits of the dead drifting around me. Unseen in the pit, the monstrous thing was speaking, but this time it wasn't addressing me. The numbing power of its voice seemed directed somewhere else. "And he suspects nothing?" it asked. Another voice, one I almost recognized, answered at my shoulder. "Nothing, my lord. He is as ignorant as the rest." I looked over, but no one was there. The speaker was invisible. "Deception upon a deception," the thing in the pit mused aloud. "Excellent." "Truly, my lord," said the voice next to me. "You are well named the Crooked One. But was it necessary? I could have brought you what I stole directly." "You?" the monster said in scorn. "You have already shown your limits. You would have failed me completely had I not intervened." "But, my lord—" "Peace, little servant. Over the 6 months have brought us much. Zeus's anger has grown. Poseidon has played his most desperate card. Now we shall use it against him. Shortly you shall have the reward you wish, and your revenge, as soon as both items are delivered into my hands. But wait, he's here." "What?" The invisible servant suddenly sounded tense. "You summoned him, my lord?" "No." The full force of the monster's attention was now pouring over me, freezing in place. Blast his father's blood. He is too changeable, too unpredictable. The boy brought himself hither. "Impossible," the servant cried. "For a weakling such as you, perhaps," the voice snarled. Then its cold power turned back on me. "So you wish to dream of your quest, young half-blood? Then I will oblige." The scene changed. I was standing in a vast throne room with black marble walls and bronze floors. The empty, horrid throne was made from human bones fused together. Standing at the foot of the dais was my mother, frozen in shimmering gold light, her arms outstretched. I tried to step towards her, but my legs wouldn't move. I reached for her only to realize that my hands were withering to bones. Grinning skeletons in Greek armor crowded around me, draping me with silk robes, wreathering my head with laurels that smoked with chimera poison, burning into my scalp. The evil voice began to laugh. "Hail the conquering hero!" So pause there. So that whole mood of the dream changed. So this is the area that you're going to be looking, and I'll highlight it for you so that you know where to look. This is what you're going to be looking at as you answer your questions. I'm actually going to put this in a lighter color. There you go. So if you look up here, you're going to write down what the mood of what the setting of that dream is. And then you're going to look in the highlighted area. So I'm going to change this to in the orange highlighted section. What is the effect of the words like dark cavern, monstrous thing, grinning skeletons on the mood? And then what other descriptive words did you find? All right, we'll continue with chapter 16 tomorrow. See you later.